protect and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
It was apparent from the onset of the Buhari administration that Africa is the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy. As his predecessor, Goodluck Jonathan, said his final goodbyes to foreign leaders at the handover ceremony, President Buhari knew he had his work cut out for him. In these 8 years, the Buhari administration has hosted several world leaders, including the then British Prime Minister Theresa May in 2018, where agreements on defense and security partnership were hammered out and signed. Then German Chancellor Angela Merkel in 2018, where several bilateral agreements were sealed. Head of the United Nations Antonio Guterres was not left out as Buhari's administration grappled with many challenges of governance, including terror attacks. And then there was the visit by then Prince Charles of Edinburgh, now King Charles III of England, making his 4th visit to Nigeria alongside his wife, where discussions at several meetings centered on strengthening British-Nigeria relations in trade, environment, and education. Out on the world stage, President Buhari engaged with several foreign leaders, seeking collaborations in trade and the war against terror.
We recently sold Nigeria 12 U.S. 829 Super Katana aircraft, it's great aircraft, in the first ever sale of American military equipment to Nigeria.
The many trips abroad made impacts on Nigeria and perhaps left some impression, either good or bad.
When you go out to market your country, you must have specific message. You must have specific products, you are selling. So you cannot actually go out and all the time you sell a product that nobody is very keen on.
The African continent saw a rise in successful and attempted military coups during the Buhari administration.
Coups are no longer fashionable and certainly no longer acceptable. The entire ECOWAS, all of the authority of heads of states, the AU, the entire international community rose with one voice against it. And that's what we expect in the coming years.
On the economic front came July of 2019. Nigeria signed the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, a continent-wide pact that seeks to create a single market, with hopes that trade volumes from African countries would reach $30 billion by 2022.
Nigeria, of course, being the largest economy, should have benefited big time from that. But I think the border closures, the capital controls really killed and took up the momentum that we would have gained. We got in late, so Ghana got the headquarters. That was supposed to be a West African thing. So that again also affected us.
Between 2012 and 2019, over 120 Nigerians had been killed in alleged xenophobic attacks in South Africa. These attacks also resulted in reprisals on South African businesses in Nigeria.
There has to be accountability and there has to be responsibility for compensating all those Nigerians that have suffered loss.
Policies by the Buhari administration in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic-induced global lockdown elicited global applause. However, the pandemic did claim over 3,000 lives, with over 250,000 people infected. On an economic scale, the ripple effect of the pandemic is still being felt despite the intervention of the outgoing government.
Nobody saw COVID coming in 2020. COVID added to that, inflation now went double digits, which of course has been double digits, but in the higher level of double digits to about 16, 17, 18%. President Buhari and his team have been trying to curtail inflation, but Nigeria seems to have had a stubborn inflation because of distortion.
The Buhari administration has had to repatriate Nigerians from war-torn countries like Ukraine, Sudan, and even Libya in the past 8 years, while dealing with the impact of these wars on trade and foreign alliances. With the 2023 general elections coming to an end, the United States has recently announced visa restrictions on individuals believed to be undermining the democratic process. A statement by the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said, quote, "These individuals will be found ineligible for visas to the United States under a policy to restrict visas of those believed to be responsible for or complicit in undermining democracy in Nigeria. Certain family members of such persons may also be subject to these restrictions," end quote. Visa bans from countries all over the world imposed on Nigerians who tried to truncate the democratic process is welcomed by all Nigerians. In fact, what many Nigerians would want is for these people to be named and shamed. 8 years of foreign affairs under the Buhari administration has had its ups and downs. Billions of dollars in infrastructure from China, a rising debt profile, and having to balance climate change ambitions with energy poverty. These dynamics must be properly understood, cultivated, and developed by the incoming administration. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.